Hey everyone, this is Jeff. So I'm here at we could not get into the what was the seminar called?
It was continuing the revolution or something like that.
Continuing the revolution from the Democracy for America. Is that right?
Yep.
I think so. They just are over capacity. They're going to do another one at 2 o'clock today, and they're going to do another one tomorrow morning. But meanwhile, I'm here talking with a couple people that could not get in. Can you just, who are you? Tell us a little.
My name's Pat Mertens Boyle. I'm a delegate from Bucks County, the 8th District in Pennsylvania. I live in Warminster. Really disappointed we couldn't get in because we do want to continue the revolution. We want to keep people involved in what's going on. And I just think it's so important not to have all this energy go to the wayside in anger and stuff like that. All of us are hurt. I was bawling my eyes out last night when Bernie called for the special rules or suspension of the rules. And it was sad and everything, and I actually almost missed the fact I was there for a moment in history when they nominated the first woman. Not that she was my choice originally, but we have to make sure that we don't have Trump as president. I think that's the most important thing.
Okay.
My name's Anna Payne. I'm from Bucks County, and I'm a Bernie delegate, Bucks County, Pennsylvania. I am disappointed that we didn't get to get in, although I'm not surprised because there is so much energy around Bernie's campaign, and Bernie drew so many people here through protests that wanted to volunteer, and then delegates on top of it that are just believe in his message so much. So I'm not surprised we didn't get in. I am obviously disappointed since I did RSVP that I would be, and they said I'd be able to get in. That we don't get to get in, but I'm hopeful that the training and the people in there want to continue the revolution and keep things moving forward. We can't afford to go backwards. If we go backwards at all, it's going to take that much longer to get restarted. So,
what did you expect the meeting to be?
I was hoping it would just talk about how we need to get more people involved locally and grassroots organization, and how to continue that within your community with maybe the Bernie supporters that you already have there, and how you guys can form a team and get together to make sure you can either maybe run a local progressive in office, or at least keep pressure on maybe a politician that you do like, that he addresses your progressive issues and knows that there's core support for those issues within your community.
And what do you see yourself doing?
I hope to continue organizing and helping get progressives on the ballot in my area. I hope to be able to door knock, canvass, phone bank, whatever needs to be done to make sure that this message and this movement keeps going forward.
What about in the long term? Same thing?
Same thing.
What about running for office yourself?
I haven't ruled it out.
But right now you're just supporting other people that...
Yeah, I would like to see what this class would have had to offer today. I haven't ruled out running, but I would like to learn a lot more about the different positions in my area and how someone like me could be helpful in those positions.
Okay. So what do you think, what were you expecting at the meeting today, and what do you see yourself doing?
Well, I expected more of how we're going to go ahead. Where are we going from here? I know it's going to be grassroots. I know it's going to be a lot of communication through the web, but how we can affect our communities, the people that aren't connected, and how we can work to get progressives elected. Because that's what the most important thing is. There's important issues that we have to deal with TPP. We have to deal with in immigration. We have to deal with the guns being readily accessible. We have to deal with Medicare for all, or single-payer health care. I prefer the single-payer health care title because I just got a message today from a friend of mine. They're going to lose their house because their mother's on Medicaid and has to go into long-term care, and the house is in her name. So it's just, there's a homeless family because of the Medicare, the rules, and it's just not right. They've been keeping that house up for her, their mother, for all these years. It's just so sad and so wrong, and we have to do that. So I was hoping that we would be learning how to fight for all of these issues and how to get people knowledgeable about them and elect local officials, because we have to start at the bottom and work our way up. And so that we have we have progressive states, and we have progressive counties in the states and things like that, that'll get us progressive congressmen and senators and hopefully a progressive president.
And what do you see yourself as far as running for office or supporting people that run for office, or what do you see?
I'm the vice chair of the Democrats in Warminster, and I get people to run for office. I'm already doing that. And you try and take people through the process of what to do, like get involved in your local community first, find out about the Board of Supervisors, find out about the different boards that are there, the Planning Commission, the Zoning Commission, the Library Board, the Parks and Rec Board. I mean, there's a ton of them. Get involved at the lower level so that you know what you're doing when you decide to run for office and what you're getting into. And I think that's very important. And if you work at your local level, eventually it'll build up so that the whole state becomes progressive.
And so you're already in government a little bit. You're already in government. I forget the position that you said.
I'm the vice chair of the Warminster Democrats. It's a volunteer organization, within the Democratic Party. I am an elected committeewoman.
So, okay, so you are partially in the establishment world and you are partially in the progressive world. Is that fair to say?
I'm a progressive establishment person, I guess you would say. Yes, that probably works well. I volunteer up at the county office, and I'm there every week, once a week, and I'm always voicing my opinion. They get it whether they like it or not, and I always make sure that they hear the progressive words.
So what, from someone who is in both sides, establishment and you know the future,
well, I think
what kind of conflicts do you have?
Oh, there's conflicts. Luckily, our personalities make them not really serious conflicts. We have differences of opinion, and we discuss it, and they hear my side, and I hear their side, and we realize that we're not always going to agree on everything, but at least we're bringing up issues, and when they hear that issue again and again and again, it starts being, okay, there's progressive people in this town, and this is what they want. Well, in my point, it's the county, and this is what people want. This is what people are going after. It's not a bunch of quote-unquote wackos backing Bernie. It was real people, and they got to meet a lot of the real people because of that.
Have you gotten any resistance because of that conflict that you have?
No, just teasing, but joking back and forth. I kept joking with them about Hillary. They kept joking with me about Bernie. You know, it was all in fun. It was all in fun. I work with a bunch of great people.
All right, well, before you said that, you know, we ultimately we need to make sure that Trump doesn't get into office. So
yes.
So you are strongly voting for. Well, no. Your vote for Hillary, which you seem to be implying that you're voting for Hillary. So
I'm voting for the Democratic ticket.
You're voting for the Democratic nominee.
Yes.
So how much of that vote is a pro vote as opposed to an anti-Trump vote?
I'm a Democratic committee woman. I'm an elected Democratic committee woman, and my job is to promote the Democratic ticket. And I will push the Democratic ticket. And that's what I'm supposed to do. I was elected to do that. And I told the people of Warminster when I ran that that's what I would do, is I would promote the Democratic committee and the ticket. So that's, I mean...
And your enthusiasm for Hillary Clinton?
It would have been so much better to be Bernie, but vote local is the whole thing, and I'm just getting people to vote the whole ticket. I don't think I have as much enthusiasm for Hillary as I do other people, but
it's not dislike. It's not
a hatred of Hillary that some people seem to have.
Well, not personal, but a really strong against her policies kind of a thing.
No, I'm just so disappointed it's not Bernie, and it's not the progressiveness of Bernie's policies, and we just can't afford. I mean, there's no way you can even consider Trump. That's a non-thing.
Can you give your perspective? Sure. All right. So could you give your perspective on the same kind of stuff that we were just talking about? Not the conflict because you're not establishment, but I mean just what you're going to do in November and your thoughts on.
Yeah. I'm also a committee woman for my area. I just became the committee woman. Someone stepped down, so I took their spot. So this is the kind of stuff that needs to happen. Progressive people who have good hearts, and have right convictions for being involved need to start stepping up and getting involved. The establishment, be as it may, but we can change the establishment. We can be the establishment. My vote in November will be for the Democratic ticket. Yes, that includes Secretary Hillary Clinton. Is she the person that I would have liked to vote for? No. But the issues are what I'm voting for. I'm voting for gay marriage, for women's rights, for health care, for equality, for more progressive platform that was just passed. Those are the things that I'm voting for.
So is your vote for Hillary pro-Hillary, or is your vote for Hillary anti-Trump, or how much of that?
My vote for Hillary is because I believe that the only way to keep Bernie's message going is to vote for the Democratic nominee.
So it lets us continue the fight.
Yes, we need to continue the fight, and I know that breaks so many hearts. So many people believe in Bernie so much more, and there is this distrust for Secretary Clinton, and I completely understand that. But Bernie himself said, to me, voting for Trump, or maybe even voting third party to a point of view, would be like a slap in the face to Bernie if Trump ends up winning this election.
So, okay, well then let me ask both of you, what is your point of view on Bernie or bust?
I understand it completely, and I'm not totally against it. But at the end of the day, you really have to look at what's important to you. Now, some people will not be able to sleep at night voting for Secretary Clinton because they do not believe in her, and they do not believe in that she will hold the platform up, that she will make good decisions. And if you cannot sleep at night voting for Secretary Clinton, I completely understand why you are Bernie or bust.
So do you feel that what about the people that say, well, if Bernie or busters are just basically a vote for Trump? Not that they're voting for Trump, but that they're effectively allowing Trump into office.
I also understand that point of view because I don't want to see a Trump presidency. Bernie does not want to see a Trump presidency. Bernie is going to have so much more power in the Senate in the upcoming years than he did a year ago because of this movement, because he has the people behind him. So we need to keep the pressure on our politicians. We need to let Bernie know we're still here, we're still with him, we're still fighting. I understand the Bernie or bust thing. I hope that the Bernie or bust people at least come out and vote down ticket because that is what matters.
That's a good point. So it's not, as long as they vote their conscience the
Yes.
whole way, all over the ballot.
Yes.
Okay. So you don't blame them if Trump gets in any way.
I'm not going to push.
As long as they vote their conscience all the way down.
If they vote their conscience, I can't argue it. I can't.
Okay.
Would I like to sit down and talk to somebody in Bernie or bust? Of course. And explain to them, the issues that you care about. The Supreme Court is a huge issue, and I don't know if many people even know about the Supreme Court. The person who gets in office is going to get 2 to 4 Supreme Court nominations. Those people are on the Supreme Court for years, and I don't mean like 5 years or 4 years, decades.
We still have a Ronald Reagan
Yes.
Supreme Court nominee.
These people are going to be making decisions against gay marriage, against Roe versus Wade, against health care reform. And if you vote third party, and your candidate is some of the third party candidates aren't even on the ballot in all 50 states. The Electoral College is what matters. So at the end of election night, they're going to count the Electoral College votes. And none of those third party candidates are going to have enough votes to secure any Electoral College numbers at the end of election night.
Right. I want to ask you the same thing. So what is your opinion on Bernie or bust as far as?
Again, it's you want people to vote their conscience, but I wanted to make an informed decision. They call it the throwaway vote. I don't believe it's throwing away if it's what you absolutely believe in. But there's for every action there's a reaction, and if too many people are Bernie or bust, it could hurt the whole Democratic Party up and down the ticket. You have people that say they're going to stay home. You have people that say they're going to write him in, and if they write him in and go home, actually it's more important to have a Democratic Congress and House of Representatives and Senators than it is to have a Democratic president, which sounds really crazy, but the Supreme Court nominees are like, wow, so important. It's the next 30 years of our lives and how we'll be living on a daily basis. You have Medicare for all, which is just such an important issue. And if you can't get it passed in the House and the Senate, it's never going to get to a president to accept or reject. So if they're Bernie or bust and don't vote I don't vote at all, and we lose all the way down. That's a really bad thing.
So let's say, I agree. Don't vote. Not voting at all is not. I don't agree with that.
That shouldn't be an option.
Very
I've always said I'll register anybody to vote who wants to vote, because if I lose, I want to lose because I was wrong, not because the majority of the people were different.
So let's go on the assumption that we're talking about Bernie or busters that vote their conscience, and they vote all the way down the ticket.
That's what they should do.
So what is your opinion as far as people there is a lot of suggestion that Bernie or busters are the reason that Trump is going to get into office, and what do you feel about
think
that?
right now you have to realize that we're mourning the loss of our campaign. We're mourning the loss of Bernie as our candidate, and we have to get past that and go on. And there's a lot of people who today are saying, I'm not going to vote at all. I'm going to stay home on election day and cry in my bed. And I understand that totally, because it is such an emotional thing. However, I'm hoping that as the hurt goes down and people start to heal, that they will look at the issues and look at the important things, such as the Supreme Court, such as how we treat our fellow citizens, whether or not we're sending our children to war, and then they do vote who they believe is the best person.
Great. Okay, all right. Well, thank you. So, forgive me, I was distracted and not hearing your answer. So
that's okay.
I can't really follow up when I wasn't listening to your answer. I was trying to get someone else's.
Yes.
But
all right.
Thank you very much, ladies, for your visit. I actually wanted to say something with you. I love your hair.
Thank you.
And your hat. But the reason I'm saying that is because the Democratic Party is all formal and ties and suits and
No, it's not.
gowns and
No, it's not.
and there's people could dismiss you or diminish you because you're not following that, and I don't know if this is what you do all the time or not, but
It's just me.
it's your truth.
Yes.
It's your truth.
Yes.
And we should be able to, as long as it's respectful in our own way, we should be able to walk into a formal, this is our truth, and it's about truth, and suits and flash and all that stuff does not feel to me as truth. So I like that.
Oh, thank you.
What was the quote from Thoreau? Beware of any occasion that forces you to wear a certain type of clothing. I think it's something that's a paraphrase. I don't remember exactly what it was.
All right, well, I want to thank you both, ladies, and then Wayne and I would like to ask you something. So thank you very much.
Care.
I'm sorry you missed it, and hopefully be later today.
We're going to say maybe tomorrow morning, and we're going to do webinars next week.
Yeah.
Good.
They have a handout about the
And you guys
webinar.
live so close. Are you staying at a hotel?
Yeah, we're
they
staying at
told
Double
us that,
Tree.
yeah, we had to come into town.
In Center City?
Yes.
So how much are you paying a night?
400.
Yeah. Let's just-
I know. We're 2,100 for the week. You had to get the 5 days.
We're $469 a night next to the hotel.
Yeah.
It's $511 a night, but after taxes and stuff. But there's the people from California are staying at
The Marriott.
Hilton. I think maybe this hotel.
Okay.
$700 a night.
Yes.
That's what I heard. That's insane.
It is.
That's
Exactly.
insane.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you. It's very nice to
All
meet
right.
you.
You too.
ladies.
And
This is on
the really-
Citizens
the really-
Media TV on Facebook.
The really sad part was you could have gotten my hotel room last week, like week before last, for $169 a night.
Of course.
That's what they were advertising.
Because
Yes.
they can.
Yes.
Because they can.
Yes.
All right. Very nice talking to you.
All right, take
See you
care.
guys later.
Nice to meet you.
Bye bye. So, Wayne,
Yes, how are you?
I'm okay.
Nice to see you again.
Give us some of your insight. So tell us, just give us introduce yourself briefly, and then.
Wayne Lewis, I'm a delegate from Southern New Jersey, Galloway Township in District 5. Here to listen to what Bernie Sanders has to say about his vision for how the revolution should continue.
And what did you come here for today?
I want to see what Bernie's idea is about how we should continue our insurgent takeover of the Democratic Party.
And how do you want to be part of that?
Well, the first step is going to be to get on the county committee, and after that, we'll see what's viable as far as running for office in New Jersey.
And what was your experience with politics before this?
Well, not very much. I have very little experience in politics. It was Bernie Sanders who actually showed me the way to go with respect to politics.
And were you involved in other campaigns before Bernie's?
No, Bernie Sanders' campaign was the first campaign I was actually involved in.
But you voted. You voted.
I voted
up until now?
basically Democrat. but without giving much thought to it.
And how did you get swept into this?
Well, there was a period where I was just, like a lot of Americans, wrapped up in my own life, wrapped up in what I was doing to make money and my relationship with my family, and just not really paying much attention to what was going on outside of my own little world. Interestingly, about 3 years ago, a friend of mine who's pretty conservative, he's a Republican, said to me, and I used to say the same thing a lot of people say, why do you even bother? Your vote doesn't really mean anything. It's all rigged. And what's the point? My friend said to me, you do an awful lot of complaining about the way that things are, and if you don't get involved and you don't vote, you don't really have a right to complain. And I started to say something smart-ass, and I stopped myself.
Because that's what you do.
This is what I am. That's what I do. And then I thought about it, and I said, yeah, boy, you're right. I started looking at stuff online about. I started to pay a lot more attention to what was going on in the world. I started looking for news sources that, were independent. And I started to see how serious climate change was, and I started to see how serious income and wealth inequality was, and then I got more and more into other systemically related issues.
How did you discover those things, those issues?
Mostly Google.
But what were you? The catalyst was Bernie Sanders?
No. So the catalyst was issues. I started realizing that we had a big problem in this country. I saw more and more people with desperate looks in their eyes. It was clear that people there were no good jobs available for anyone. So this is what I started to notice first. And then I started. So I guess it was the income inequality issue that got me started first, and then the corruption and politics issue. So I saw an interview with I don't remember the name of the lobbyist who kind of he ended up going. It was Jack something.
I know what you mean.
I saw an interview with he went to jail, lost all his money, and now he's doing something. Right. He realized what he did wrong. So I saw an interview, Jack Abramoff.
Yeah. That's right.
I ended up seeing an interview with him, and
he saw the light after it was too late to do anything about it.
But after seeing an interview with him, I realized how bad things really were in our political system. So I started digging into that too. So the more and more you look at all these issues, you look at climate change, you look at income and wealth inequality, you look at trade, you look at trade and the neoliberal agenda. And what really opened up my eyes to neoliberalism and like the way things really fit together was a 60-page pamphlet by a guy named Martin Kirk called One Party Planet. It's on therules.org. And he does a great. It's therules.org. It's an organization that's trying to enlighten the world to biosphere consciousness.
And how much of all this stuff was before you discovered Bernie Sanders?
Okay.
What I'm getting at, what I'm understanding so far is that you came to the realization of these rules before your awareness of Bernie Sanders, and then I'm guessing that that Bernie Sanders, hearing him speak, you're like, holy cow!
Yes.
All these things.
Exactly. So I was already kind of on this path of and I'm a systems thinker. So I was a mathematician in dynamical systems. My interests are nonlinear complex systems, so I'm interested in how economies work, how ecosystems work, how gene regulation networks work. And what I realized was that all the problems that we have in the country and the world, they're all interrelated systemically. So each problem is related to other problems and they all feed into each other. So I discovered Bernie Sanders, if I remember, a friend from Facebook said, you should listen to this guy because he agrees with, listen to this guy talk.
That's how I discovered
he agrees with
my friend Joe on Facebook.
I can't remember who it was that told me, but someone said, yeah, you should listen to this guy because he really agrees with a lot of things you're saying, and he's actually trying to do something about it. And, the first time I heard him speak, I was like, oh, wow, this guy actually gets it. And then I actually went back and looked at speeches that he's done over the last 30 years, realized that, I just fell in love with his authenticity and the fact that he's had this vision for 40 years, and he never changed his story. He's been saying the same things when they weren't popular, and he's still saying the same things now that other people have caught up to what he saw 40 years ago.
You said a minute ago about the interrelatedness and what Bernie Sanders' stump speech, his major speech that he gave over and over and over again, showed me how all of these things are interrelated. Like, for example, if you just implement $15 an hour, then that would be bad. If you just, in a vacuum,
absolutely.
implemented $50 an hour.
Right.
But that's not the point. The point is to do $15 an hour with medical coverage and just all of these supplemental issues, and that will work.
Yeah.
That will work.
So when you put $15 an hour together with single-payer health care, you take all this health care burden away from small business. They can afford to pay their employees.
Right. That's a major factor that makes $15 an hour possible.
None of these things in a vacuum work alone.
But I wanted to say that there's way more. Because, like, for example, so you have trade policies, bad trade policies, which put our wages down, which makes parents have to work longer hours, not even longer hours, but multiple jobs. Multiple parents have to work now, so now you don't have parents at home being with their children as they should be, so the children don't have as much guidance, so they're on the streets, they make bad decisions, they use drugs, drug policy puts them into jail, now they're in prisons for profit, and now they can be hired as slave labor, which feeds into the trade policy, which it's all of these incredibly interrelated. Oh, and education, the kids can't go have an education,
You're starting to see the big picture.
and it all interrelates, and his stump speech is not just a bunch of interesting things. It is a true narrative the entire way through, and it's remarkable. I've been trying to get my head around to come up with a chart or a graph of his whole speech, because that's how everything points to everything. If you do any of these things in a vacuum, it won't work. But all of these things are critical to each other.
Yeah, so one of the big points about that is, and we haven't really touched on climate change yet, and the GMO issue, which isn't quite, it's really different than what people are focusing on. But the point about the way nonlinear dynamical systems work is that, yes, all these things are interrelated and they feed back into each other, and the effects can be synergistic in many cases, so they're more than additive. So you have contributions from 10 different things that interact, and the net result is much bigger than the 10 individual contributions in terms of effect. But the good news is that solutions also work together synergistically. So it sounds overwhelming that, oh my God, we have all these problems, they work together and the effects are magnified, but a suite of solutions that are interrelated also have the same type of effect in mitigating the problems.
So we just got a statement from my friend Devil's Advocate Mark Schmitz, who said, "How can you enact all these laws at once?" And as in meaning how they can't be passed through Congress all at once. So yes, everything is interconnected, but you can't just pass everything at once. So can you respond to that?
Well, some things can be put in place by who you put in regulatory agencies, who you have in your cabinet. You can get a lot of things done, or at least get on the path to getting a lot of things done before legislation is even enacted. Then you can work on enacting legislation.
And I would say, yes, you can't necessarily pass everything at once, but that doesn't change the fact that these things are incredibly interrelated, and that medical coverage will make $15 an hour more possible. And they're two separate issues.
Yeah.
The reality is one thing, and the political reality is another. But it doesn't change things.
So, for instance, if we have Stephanie Kelton and some of the other economists that Bernie Sanders works with, who are experts on modern monetary theory, the argument about paying for these things is really not even a valid argument if you understand modern monetary theory. So the same technique that was used to bail out Wall Street for $5 trillion worth of quantitative easing can be used to pay for eliminating, forgiving student debt, a mass mobilization on climate change, and other policies that we need. So the real truth of the matter is that deficit spending doesn't really place any debt burden on future generations. When the government spends money, all they really do is change some figures in the computer at the Fed. There isn't any physical money changing place. There isn't any promise. There isn't any real promise of gold or anything else in exchange for a currency. So if China owns $1 trillion worth of government bonds, for instance, they don't have any real leverage over us. We can pay them back with new bonds, or we can give them U.S. dollars if they want. So it's not like they can hold us hostage. So when the government spends money in deficit, that means there'll be a surplus in the public sector.
Mark says except for inflation.
Okay, so that's an argument that was pushed out by economists, classical and neoclassical economists, for 50 years. But if you look at what's happened over the last 50 years, in no case has this ever occurred. And I would further argue that classical and neoclassical economics are complete horseshit from top to bottom. They're based on axioms which are all demonstrably false. As a mathematician, I can tell you that if you try to work within an axiomatic system, if you start with false axioms, anything you prove is worthless.
All right, Mark, you're on your own. I have no clue what that man just said. But, all right. Well, so what's your plans for the rest of the day?
Going to the Democracy for America meeting
At 2 o'clock?
at 2 o'clock, and then
I'm gonna wait till
I'll
tomorrow
be heading over to the convention center, hopefully to
The Wells Fargo Center.
To the Wells Fargo
It's
Center.
so confusing.
Maybe talk to some more people in the press. I want to be there for Barack Obama's speech to be holding up a no TPP sign.
Nice.
So even though I know we're not really going to change his opinion on TPP, I want him to be well aware that we're not going to take it.
Mark says Honda Accord was $9,000 in 1990, now $30,000. I don't know what that means.
Oh, so he's talking about inflation, and we didn't really do a lot of quantitative easing at that point. The question is, but if you, as long as wages and income match the rate of inflation, the actual number of dollars doesn't really make much difference. So if the median income was $20,000 and a Honda Accord was $9,000, and now the median income was $60,000 and a Honda Accord is $30,000, it doesn't really mean anything. The big problem we have in this country is that while we've had about the rate of inflation that the Fed was aiming for, wages have stagnated for most people. So the wages of 90% of Americans didn't keep up with inflation. This is what Bernie's talking about when he says all the money is going to the top 1%.
So I'm curious, unrelated. So 1,000 of the Bernie delegates walked out last night.
Yeah, I know.
Did you choose to be one of those?
I did choose to be one of those.
Okay. So,
I didn't make it into the tent.
but you got your credentials for today.
Yes, I did still got my credentials for today.
And I mean, the walkout arguably implied that we are gone.
No, I think it was more of a protest. I mean, there's some people who are not coming back, but I think it's important that we're present for Barack Obama's speech. If nothing else, we'll be holding up no TPP signs, and let him know that we're not with him on this.
And what do you expect to happen today because of yesterday's walkout?
I'm not really sure what to expect. From what I've seen, they're not really changing their narrative very much.
Did you see? I don't know. I haven't watched.
I didn't watch any of the speeches last night.
No. I'm curious what the mainstream media covered. Did they even acknowledge?
So on the Uber on the way here, the guy was listening to NPR. They mentioned it and they said, about 200 Bernie delegates walked out. So they're really spinning it, and they're not reporting it accurately.
Clearly, it was not too.
I talked to
what was your estimate? My estimate.
More than half. I would say 1,000 to 1,300 somewhere.
All right, my estimate before hearing anyone else say was 500. That was my estimate. Just the crowd, the feeling of how large the crowd was.
Okay, there might have been about 500 people in the tent, but if you took a look at so I walked back in before Bill Clinton was speaking, and I took a look around the auditorium. There's a lot of empty seats.
So the estimate that I've heard in the media
it's a big
is at least
underestimate.
Is 1,000.
Yeah. Okay, so
1,000
is that's about right. That's probably reasonable.
because there's 1,900 Bill Bernie delegates, so 1,000 seems to be. So, all right. Well, Wayne, thank you.
Always a pleasure, Jeff.
All right. So we're gonna head back to the hotel, and then we'll continue something else. Oh, you're gonna stay till 2? I don't. What time is it now? It's a little after 1. All right. So I'm gonna get off. I don't even know what I want to do. So we'll find out. But I'll see you guys soon.
I didn't really look at the schedule today. Like, I'm not sure who's speaking in the afternoon.
Well, opening gavel time was changed to 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Yeah, opening gavel time was changed to 4 o'clock. So I will be there. I'll be there the whole time. I don't want to see. Not that I don't want to see President Obama, but I'm not staying for President Obama. I mean, I'm not as a protest. Just it doesn't excite me, and I'm tired.
It doesn't excite me.
And people can see. You know, I mean, I'd like to be there for holding up a no TVP sign, but it's just too much. So I'm going to stay from opening gavel up until Barack Obama speaks.
I'm one of a lot of people who are Bernie Sanders supporters. They become disillusioned with President Obama. You know, he started out talking to us in a very progressive way and promising us progressive things, and then he turned out to be just another
Obama trade.
Yeah, Obama trade. His bailout. He bailed out bankers instead of bailing out homeowners and citizens. He bailed out the stockholders of Ford Motor Company, but he didn't bail out the workers of Ford Motor Company. Same goes for GM. Obamacare, I know his hands were a little bit tied, but what it turned out to be is more of a giveaway to Aetna Insurance than it is actual help for people. So, you know, they argue that a lot more people are covered by medical insurance, but the truth is they're underinsured. In many cases, high copays go along with the insurance they have, and it's not really fair to say that they're completely covered.
Right. All right. Thanks, Wayne. We'll see you around. I don't know. Maybe it's so close I might stick. We'll see. All right. Bye, everyone. Talk to you soon.
40
Thanks.
in the entire primary in general. But I only have 90 to spend in the general.
All right. I can't take it. There's people talking here. I'm going to listen.
Yikes.
I was outspent.
She,
1 to 10.
do you know who she is?
Nope.
Now,
Here, let me introduce. What's your name?
don't need a lot.
Kerith Strano Taylor. What do we hide?
Hello.
Hi.
There's millions and millions of people watching you right now.
Fantastic.
Actually, 9.
9, but I like 9. It feels more intimate.
Actually, 10. Just change to
10,
10.
it feels more
because
intimate.
of your presence. So.
Just introduce myself.
Well, I'll tell
Ask
you
me
who
a
I am. I'm citizen. I'm a Bernie delegate.
Me too.
I was said that I was going to stop, and I changed my mind. So I'm Citizens Media TV on Facebook.
Okay, which means I have to look that up and click it.
Please.
Okay.
So where I've been live streaming everything, and I don't mean
I have a
I don't
story
mean the
for you.
convention. I mean everything from our point of view. So the walkout and.
Can I? Okay,
Please introduce yourself.
My name is Kerith Strano Taylor. I am the Democratic nominee for Congress in Pennsylvania's 5th Congressional District that covers 24% of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, spread out over 16 counties.
Okay.
It is rural, it is white, and it is impoverished. Our unemployment rates are high, our underemployment rates are higher, and we have a Republican incumbent who says things like, we can't raise the minimum wage because no one should strive for the minimum. And he thinks that's an answer. I'm glad you find humor in that.
So
He doesn't understand that that's
so
not an
they should
answer.
strive for less than minimum, is what you're
With
saying.
me? So he's been in 4 terms. We ran 9 debates. I think I won 8 of them. He's drifting along in the seat. Bernie won my district. Hillary didn't. Trump won my district. Right? So there are people there that are ready for this. I ran in 14, now I'm running in 16 because no one else was going to run and there would have been an empty spot on the ballot, which I find unacceptable, right? We should be challenging every single one of these seats. Northwest, so from Erie, Pennsylvania to Tioga County, south to Clinton, including all of State College and Penn State, which is my alma mater, west to Venango, and everything in between, including the groundhog. Punxsutawney Phil is 18 miles from my house. So I'm the chair of my county party that we're waking up after a dormancy way too long, and we're getting organized. And a lot of them are Bernie-crats, and they're not happy.
Are you a Bernie?
I'm a Bernie-crat. I'm a Bernie delegate. I endorsed him early. I had watch parties at my house, and I believe in this. And I think more people than we know believe in this. It's just a matter of how we make it happen.
Are you in a primary right now? Or are you?
No,
in the
I didn't have a challenger this year. I'm on the ballot. in November this year. So brand new Congress is happening, which is awesome,
Are you
right?
going on Friday?
They're looking to 18.
Are you here for the meeting on Friday night?
Tell me, Friday night.
There's a meeting on Friday night around 7 o'clock. I can tell you specifically.
For brand new
where to go.
Congress?
Brand new Congress.
When I saw it, I said, for 18, that's awesome. But there's some of us that could win this year, that were on the ballot. The work's been done. That's me. We'll talk. So, can you tell I'm a little excited about this? I was so disappointed yesterday.
Let's
Okay,
get a
because
little
that's
more,
a whole other story.
Let's get a little more background on you.
Okay.
Since tell us more about you. Tell us more about your history and.
Okay, I've lived in my congressional district for 35 of my 40 years on this earth. I grew up in a really small town. My dad was a mechanic. They had their own business. I got the free lunch ticket in school. I was one of those kids. Public education was my ladder, right? I went to a well-funded public high school. I went to Penn State with Pell Grants. I graduated law school with federally subsidized student loans, and I moved back to my hometown. I opened my own business with my husband. We had kids. Schools were terrible. So do I take my kids to a different school? No, I run for school board. And then I become the president of the school board.
Wow, say
And
that again. Say that again.
I ran for school board.
No. Say the whole.
I was considering taking my kids to another school, and instead of that, I decided I'd run for school board, and I did, and I won. And then I was president for 2
School
years.
stinks, so instead of choosing a better school, you
Stink is a
changed-
bad word. It used to be awesome. It graduated me and my friends, and it was amazing. We had valedictorians 5 years after graduation at a number of colleges. It was a powerhouse. And then they stopped funding everything. They said a new board came in, and they said, teachers are more like daycare workers. They just need to manage the chaos and start hiring teachers, paying them terribly. We have teachers leaving our school right now because they're not being paid enough. And I'm fighting the fight, but I need more people to run for school board, which is a project
You're
that
on
I'm working
school-
on
You're on school board
right now.
So on school board, how much change were you making at first, and how much was it just that you were resisting the bad stuff?
It was always about change.
Or at least the voice of what should be changed. Hold on. Being the voice of what's right, but not having the power to do any of that yet because you were so alone. I'm asking this. Or how did you actually start making changes when you first got on that board?
I built coalitions with the folks that were there. I was the only Democrat on my board. They elected me president twice. So I built coalitions that got things done. It wasn't always the same coalition. Different people had different issues and concerns. So for budget issues, I would really focus on talking to these people who appreciated the math and the clearness of our challenge.
You're talking about people on the board.
On the board, there's 9 members. I was the only Democrat, right? So I had to build coalitions to get things done, but I was very effective. I ran really good meetings. People liked being at them. Public came, they engaged with their questions. It was really good. And then 2 years after that, I decided
You seem to be
run
a
for
very hard
Congress.
person to get along with.
Say again?
You seem to be a very hard person to get along
I
with.
can be a little...
I'm totally joking.
I know,
You're-
but where I live, it's really rural, and people are struggling. And then for some reason, the Republicans have convinced them that
Engaged democracy and collaboration is thrilling for people. If people came to your school board meetings because they felt like they had a real voice, you were listening to them and you were actually collaborating with them, rather than having what they say go in one ear out the other and doing something else. That's why the real revolution is going to start at the
you
grassroots
have to
level.
elicit
in county.
information from people in
Yeah.
order to solve their
Yes.
problems. You have to ask them questions, you have to listen to their answers, and speak to their concerns. You
And
can't...
at the local level, you're able to collaborate with Republicans
Yes.
because you
They're
can actually
all
talk about the
Republicans.
issues, like
They're-
what issues you care about. How can we actually cooperate on this rather than which lobby should we listen to?
All right, so keep going.
What else do you want to know? I'm an attorney. Obviously, I had a law firm. I practiced law with my ex-husband for 6 years after the divorce. I know compromise. I'm really, really good at it. I represent the kids that come through the foster care system in my county, and I was just named Child Advocate of the Year this year by my Pennsylvania Bar Association, which was a wonderful honor. I'm so thirsty because I've been talking, because I'm so excited that there are people that care, because at the convention hall,
That's why this exists, because people are listening who actually care, and these are the people we need to talk to, and this is why we need to stop the TPP so that this will still be possible.
Yeah, that's what the internet is drowning is terrible.
Now, I will say, I respect all of the people in my delegation. I respect their engagement in their politics, and the fact that we differ on how to get there doesn't mean their opinion is any less valid than mine. I think it's going to take time for this to happen. Richie, who I just met, had a really brilliant line where you said, we're an army that's marching towards the castle, right? It takes time to get there. I thought that was a brilliant way to put it. It's not storming, it's not violent, it's not aggressive, it's a slow march. And the more of us that gather together to do it, the more likely our outcome will happen. So I thought that was brilliant how he articulated that.
So tell us more. Any more about the school board? Like, did something end up happening? Or you
We
just
did a
still
lot of
fighting the
things.
fight,
We were able to preserve all of our programs by a really modest tax increase, because people get frightened when you say tax increase, right? But it was the price of $2 a month to be able to keep all of our programs. And we had just sent 3 kids to medaled in state wrestling. Like we had done things that we want to preserve and be proud of, and when you give people the choice between a little $2 a month or keep all of our programs, they chose to keep their programs. But it took a lot of dialogue. It took a lot, like I had to get people to move over, and we ended up winning by 1 vote.
It was smart to actually quantify what the cost would be and show them what they would be getting in
It wasn't
exchange.
enough for people to say, they tell me they don't want us to raise their taxes. Because you have to ask the follow-up question, what are you willing to lose? We can't afford to do it all with this money. We need a little bit more. So if you don't want to pay a little bit more, which I respect, help me choose what we cut.
So I want you to say your name again for people who just joined. Your name and your just
Kerith
very
Strano Taylor. My website is kstforcongress.com. I'm running in Pennsylvania's 5th Congressional District.
which is the far northwest.
It is the Northwest. It covers 24% of the Commonwealth. It's an enormous district.
Bernie Kratt, and people need to start helping this person.
Bernie Kratt,
'Cause
Bernie
she's-
delegate, and I
she's-
endorsed him early in the primary.
She was unchallenged in the primary,
Yes.
so she is now in the general. You've had debates, assuming they're online.
In 14, I ran in 14. I won my primary in 14 and ran against the incumbent in the general. We debated 9 times. Those are available on YouTube. You search my name. I think it's linked to my website, which is kstforcongress.com. And you can see some of them. Some of them are brilliant. Some really amazing things happened with this Republican incumbent who didn't really know what he was saying. And then he said it, and then he didn't really know how to pull it back. He really doesn't understand it. So it's, I thought it was brilliantly fun to do. I haven't. I've been trying unsuccessfully at this
Come to
point.
Brand New Congress with me on Friday night if you're around this area.
It might be worth staying.
I would love to go there with you. I really would. So all right. So now that's a lot of school board stuff. So now,
Running for Congress, you want to know how that happens?
bring it.
I'll try to do it without swearing.
You're welcome to swear.
Well, okay, so I get to be, okay. So in 2013, I was appointed to the National Federal Relations Network, which is an association of school boards all across the nation. And if you're appointed, you're asked to go engage your federal representatives on issues that matter to schools. Okay. So I made an appointment with Congressman Thompson, happened to be on my birthday in November, and it was right
November
after...
what?
November 26th.
7th. Okay. Go
On
ahead.
my birthday, I get to go meet with my congressman, right? Kind of cool. So the 18-day shutdown had recently ended, right? Because it was November 26th. And I make the appointment. I go with another school board member from north of me, Republican. We have a drive there, and we meet, we sit, and I open the meeting because he just sat there. So I asked him if we were going to be open in the spring. Open for business in the spring.
Wait. What was going to be open for business?
Government. Because we had just done the shutdown.
Oh.
So are we going to be open for business in the spring? And
Wait,
he says,
what was shut down?
The government.
Pennsylvania?
It was the federal government.
Federal government.
Federal government. 2013, 18 days in October.
Okay.
Shut it down, right? And he says to me, the shutdown? That was a joke.
And explain why that's.
I'm
not good.
stunned. So I asked him, I think he thought I was a fan and I was going to laugh at his, I think he thought he was being funny, right? That's fair. But I asked him to whom he thought that was funny. I had people in my office for 3 weeks worried that they weren't going to get paid. I had a guy, National Guard, who was called up for his duty on the weekend, had to give up a weekend of overtime, but didn't know if he was going to get paid from the government and was he going to be able to pay his child support that month. And he calls me and he says, what do I do? Because they're going to put me in a jumpsuit and haul me in if I'm late on my child support. But if I, right? Legitimate question. I had a retired couple write a check for their life savings to buy a federally foreclosed home. They couldn't get a deed. The government cashed their check and they couldn't get their deed.
All right, I like this lady, and the people here are saying I like this lady.
Panicked, right? I had seniors coming in asking if they were going to get their Social Security checks. These are people. We have 70 seniors in my little town alone that have to go to the food bank for food every month because their Social Security doesn't cover their basic food needs. And they give seniors an extra box at the beginning of the month. 70 people. 70 in my little town. Go to the food bank.
So what happened? So continue in this meeting.
So
he was just making light of it.
How much minutia do you want? Because I'll give you the answer.
I'm still trying to get like, I don't understand what the purpose of him saying that was, or what you took it as,
I posed the
or
question to him. Who do you think thought it was funny? Because all of these people were suffering. What do you want me to go tell them? Because when I go home, I'm going to say I met with our congressman, and this is what he has to say. And he said, we got a good deal. Now, only policy wonks will really love this analysis, but I said, what deal did you get? He said, we got the sequestration budget numbers. Now, this is kind of old history. It's 2013, but you remember, right?
Someone just gave you $50.
Oh my God. Okay, this is working. So we got a good deal. We got the sequestration budget numbers.
Put your link
Did
on
you?
the chat and
Thank you.
yeah.
Donate.
Someone
$27, man. I pressed the button. Oh, too many times I pressed the button.
Person just said passion, love it. Mark says if you like her donate, I just gave 50. Put your link on there. And I don't know if this is a compliment or not, but it's Mark says, wow, she is like Hillary, except she is still married to her ex-husband.
No, married. We worked together for 6 years after.
Right, okay.
Yeah, the divorce definitely happened. I can't deny that part.
And Mike Olson just pledged you $1 million.
Brilliant, Michael Olson. Brilliant. Too bad I can't take all of it, but we could give it to a lot of other Bernie Kratz that are running for Congress.
Okay.
Right? There you go.
So keep on with this meeting.
Okay, so I said to him, you negotiated the sequestration budget numbers in June. Those were done, right? You already got those. What did you get in October? We got a good deal. Okay, wait. I just asked you what you... And all he kept doing was repeating it.
I don't understand what a good deal is.
He didn't
We
get
don't
anything.
either, and he wouldn't tell her.
They didn't get anything. He kept saying the sequestration numbers, but when I challenged that they already had them in June, he didn't have another talking point. He didn't have another way to say,
He didn't get anything.
The entire shutdown was a hoax.
Okay.
It was a joke. It cost us money.
That's what he meant when he said it was a joke.
That's what he really meant. He was being literal. That's really funny. I never thought of it exactly that
I
way.
got that almost right away.
Oh,
That's
see,
why
that adds a layer of nuance that I had never thought about, no matter how many times I told that story. So clearly that conversation's going nowhere. So I say to him, representing public education, what are your thoughts about public education? And he said,
Hey guys, please share this so other people can see this amazing lady.
he said,
This is the kind of person that we need, and she's running now in November.
In November.
Share this and tell them to start watching.
he says to me, if we took the lessons from charter schools and applied them to public schools, we'd all be better served.
We really want to work with the Koch brothers.
So I asked
Let's
him,
just make sure.
what lessons? Give me a list of things that we as public school board members and teachers and parents of students need to know better from charters. And he repeated it. We need to take the lessons from charter schools and apply them to public schools. We'll all be better served. And then a light bulb went off. What he meant was, we bust the unions.
Oh, well.
If we got rid of the unions, we'd all be better served in private charter schools.
All right, so please just elaborate on this because I'm missing something. It's going so fast.
Sorry.
No.
I speak quickly.
The passion
My
is more important.
transcriptionist in court always says to me, slow down. So
All right,
I apologize.
So the passion is more important, but I
Okay.
want you to just review because that's a lot what you just said.
Okay.
What does this have to do with unions and the hoax and the joke
Okay.
and all this stuff?
So I'm asking him what solutions he has to offer to the challenges that we face in public schools, right? We're losing funding, and the charter school movement nationwide, specifically in Pennsylvania, is a mechanism by which private corporations can pull public education money out of the coffers and spend it irresponsibly, not graduate more kids, not do a better job than we do, but they don't have to pay union wages to their teachers.
Who is him?
These are the private charter schools spreading out across the nation. They are. Pennsylvania has different rules than obviously New York would and so on. So it's not a purely federal issue.
Just a side point. It's actually worse than that because these charter schools, this whole movement is mediated by ALEC and the Koch brothers network. And not only are they busting unions and paying teachers less and having corporations that profiteer without really giving you anything more, but they have control over what's in the curriculum. So they start teaching, regressive ideas about free market economics and things like that to kids in school. They teach them that competition is the way of the world rather than cooperation. So it's very insidious.
And they're doing it on public dollars.
Do me a favor. Give us we have like 6 or 7 more viewers now, so can you just give a 30-second introduction again and then review this whole thing like I was saying, please?
Sure. My name is Kerith Strano Taylor. I'm running for Congress in Pennsylvania's 5th Congressional District, which is in the northwest of Pennsylvania. It covers 24% of the Commonwealth and has 16 counties, including the entirety of Penn State and Punxsutawney Phil, which is 18 miles from my house. You taught at Penn State, right? Go Navy Lions.
So now, all that passion that you were just saying, can you give a review of that as far as the joke, the hoax, the unions?
Oh, you want the whole story again? I'll try to make it shorter.
Just the review, the basic concept of that.
So the last question that I posed to him during this meeting was what we were going to do to solve our public schools challenges, right? We're underfunded, we're being overburdened with regulations, the testing expectations are out of control. I was expecting to hear him speak to these issues, and instead he proposed that we take lessons from private charter schools and apply them to publics.
Okay.
He couldn't identify any lessons. They don't do things better than public schools do. They don't graduate more kids, they don't do it more quickly, they don't test higher on their scores. They don't So, my conclusion was, and I asked him if what he meant was we bust the unions. That's his solution to the public school crisis.
I don't understand how you jumped to that conclusion.
Because charter schools have nothing else to teach us in Pennsylvania. They don't do anything better than public schools do. Nothing.
And how does that equate to busting the unions?
What lesson would you apply from a failing model to a successful one? Tell me what lesson you would apply. Model is failing. It isn't meeting any benchmarks. It's not graduating kids on time. It's not graduating at a higher graduation rate. And it's not having them improve test scores. So if they're not meeting their basic obligation of a school, what do they have to teach to a public school?
Right, I understand all that.
That's it.
But I don't understand how that jumps to, so they're trying to bust the unions.
Because private charters don't have unions.
So just the fact of...
They want rid of them. They want rid of the unions. The man has a 0 AFL
So
score.
his excuse of switching to charter schools is pretending that they're better in some ways.
To justify
But
there being more of
ultimately,
them.
they make more money because they have more power, because they can...
And they get money from the government. They're getting public dollars. Public education dollars are funneling into private corporate schools. That's the problem. But when I asked him if that's what he meant, he looked at his shoes. He had no response. He didn't say, no, that's not what I mean. No, he didn't say anything.
Okay, so
I let myself out.
right.
That was the end of the meeting.
And then what happened?
I was pissed. I was angry, and I drove home angry, and I woke up the next morning angry, and decided that I should run for Congress. I can do that job better than he can. I can do it a lot better than he can.
Bring it.
So I got on Amazon, and I looked up, how do you run for office? And I bought 3 books. And they arrived 3 days later, because I didn't have Prime yet. So I waited. And by the time they came...
You're a newbie, you'll learn.
Right? I fixed it now. But by the time they arrived, it had waned. Like,
What did it
I
wane?
wasn't quite as angry.
Your passion.
Some time had passed, right? And I had a chance to kind of evaluate whether I was really going to run for Congress. I'm a single mom, I own a business, I'm on my school board. I'm the chair of a rules committee for the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania. I'm a busy lady. Like, am I really going to run for Congress?
How many kids you got?
2.
How old?
11 and 8. They're brilliantly funny. They're wonderful children, and they're remarkable little humans. So quite proud of them. And I had to consider the sacrifice that they were going to face. I was going to be gone more, right? But this is the really cool thing about the story.
I'm gonna get away from these sounds. Can you come?
So, I was still married then. No, I was still working with my ex-husband then.
Okay.
And we got along brilliantly. Shared custody of the kids. And I went in and I asked him if he would run the business, take the cases, so I could run for Congress. We differ politically. He was a Republican, now he's an independent. But he said to me, I think you'd be really good at that job. And he managed my office, took my cases for 9 months so that I could run for Congress. He had no obligation to me. He did it because he believed that it can be better. Although we differ, it was a really lovely, kind gesture that he made to me. And I appreciate
I have
it.
to say, my wife has been watching my boys for the entire week of the convention, even though I live 25 minutes down the road. And you're going into the 2 o'clock?
You want to go?
I'll absolutely want to go. All right, I want to go too.
We can learn.
All right, let's go together.
Okay.
All right,
Tell me your first name again.
I'm Jeff.
Kerith.
Jeff, nice to meet you.
Kerith.
Kerith. All right, so we're gonna go in. It's starting. You want to go in?
There's 40 seats left. We just made money. We just made money. People donated to the page.
All right, so we're about to go in. Kerith, my new friend, and
Lovely.
my roommate Richard, and who are these ladies? Hold on.
Okay, I'm connecting it now.
Hello, hi.
Mark.
I am Tina Nabachi.
First come, first serve, and we only have room for 92 people. So if you could wrap around the yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna stop it and start it. I'm gonna stop it and start it so we can cover this
Not want to
meeting.
be.
I don't really want to. What's happening? Is my own being recorded right now?
Millions of people are watching. Actually, 11. I'm stopping it anyway. I'm stopping this, and I'm going to start it right over again so we can cover the meeting we're about to go into. See you soon. Thanks, everyone.